And I think it's happening. Yes, I'm live. It's been Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. I'm continuing the chat from last night. And oh, someone's already here. Hi there, someone. Say hello in the chat. So let's see. Is the lighting okay? I hope it's okay. Better than last night. All right, let's see. Where we left off, we were talking about, well, Taylor 26 brought up the Mishnah Erkin, Chet Zain, chapter 8, Mishnah 7. And he spoke there of something which I don't know because I didn't study the Mishnah of Arachin. I studied different Mishnahs, just different degrees, but not that one. I'd like to get more into that and see what he said. It's easy to misinterpret. Speaking of the first consecration, and I spoke of humans, he spoke of animals. I'd like to get a little bit more into that, but I'm just saying for another video. So Robert says, trying to get to Israel in February. Hey, that's great. I'd like to meet him and shake his hand. Let's see. Jesus says, is there a link between Esau and Amalek? I mean, they are both considered, at least in terminology, they're both considered types of klipot, types of things which cover a fruit. Something along the lines of klipa literally is peel or rind. It's more than that. It's a Kabbalistic term, a Hasidic term, and it's to say the forces of evil would be putting it too simply. But it's something that you need to work at. Nowadays, Esau and Amalek, there's a dispute over whether or not they exist. People say they exist symbolically, spiritually, conceptually. There is a link between them in the sense of, our sages say, halacha biyadua she'esav sonel Yaakov. There is a halacha, it is known that Esau hates Jacob. Now, that never sat right with me because I do believe that in the actual story in the Torah, I do believe, I am of the opinion that when Esau ran to Jacob after not seeing him for 21 years, and he embraced him as a brother for real, what happens later with the descendants, that obviously has a lot to do, and people say it goes, right, Esau being Rome, Rome destroying the second temple, there's that whole thing. The connection there has to do with klipa, with this thing which needs to be let go of. I'm putting it a little too simply, and it's also 11 p.m., so my mind isn't as sharp as I'd like it to be right now. So yes, there is a link between Esau and Amalek. If you're speaking not conceptually or symbolically or as far as klipot kabbalistically, if you're speaking literally the family ties between them, I don't have it offhand, but the link is there in the sense of it's something which Israel need to contend with. We need to contend with Esau. We need to contend with Amalek. Now, when Israel first came out of Egypt, and many years later actually, and they arrived, God was very careful to tell Moses, do not start a war with the Edomites, with Edom. That's your brother. I gave him his inheritance. You will not see anything of it. That's his. He took it from Esau, took it from, how say you they took it? I don't remember who they took it from. It appeared, well, never mind where it appeared. Recently, in a recent portion. The link is there. Israel need to contend with this. The Klipa of Esau is a sibling rivalry thing. The Klipa of Amalek is more of a wickedness that needs to be obliterated, and I use those terms loosely because it speaks of like an absolute, and I don't believe in absolutes. Right? There's only one absolute. That's the Most High. I haven't said it in a long time, since I haven't broadcasted in a long time and spoken of such things in this way. The Klipa of Amalek is a very interesting one. And what I take from it more than anything is that God tells Moses to tell Joshua and make sure that he writes it, that the memory of Amalek will be eradicated from under the heaven. Mitachat hashamayim. Lo tishkach. Do not forget. Under the heavens, Amalek is obliterated, but there is a source to Israel and Amalek where they are one. That's the type of humanity I'd want to see. That's the type of person I'm trying to be in the sense of the klipot, the hindrances, the forces of evil, wickedness, malice, judgment. They have their place. But I'm trying through Torah, through questions like these, to be more precise and say, yeah, to start at the root. The link is there. But the link which links them as forces of evil and klipot, there's a higher link where they are one before they split up into left, right, good and evil. But trying to bring it down into creation is, as those who follow me know, part of what this Nazarite thing is, as far as I'm concerned. And this is, you can see this in the text, you can see this in so many things. So Jesus says to Robert, pardon, Jesus says to Robert, that's cool, premature bon voyage. Spooky says, definitely not Steven Crowder. Right, so he mentioned in his house, I think I'm saying it, maybe I'm messing it up, something in his home, in his house, something like that, and a track by a person, Crowder, oh, what's his name? I listened not to the whole thing. I enjoyed the melody, and Born Again is when I left off. I should give it a listen like fully. No, 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 not because of obviously I knew it was a Christian thing. I clicked on it knowing it's a Christian thing. It's not that I was, oh, he said born again. Oh, no, 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 I gotta click off. Nothing like that. I think I was at work. The point is, I do want to give that a listen. It had this crisp sound, and I liked it. So let's see. So Taylor 26 continues his the firstborn of the animals is consecrated, and you can't trade him in for any other sacrifice. Right? It's a cherem. Consecrated for that. That's how that Mishnah starts, if I'm not mistaken. So he says, for example, and he says there's differences between Leviticus, Exodus, and Deuteronomy, if I'm not mistaken. That's what he said, or is it Leviticus? Yeah, I think. So he says this. Leviticus 12, says Taylor, says you must present two offerings after a woman gives birth, a burnt offering and a sin offering. You cannot present a firstborn animal for one of these offerings. Right, okay, so that's an example of something where you need to bring an offering, but this, the firstborn, uh, can't be consecrated that way to God because it was already consecrated at birth. This idea of consecrating the animal outside of humans for the purposes of this, well, this, the idea of consecrating right, we say is the idea of the divine soul and the animal soul, and that animal soul is something where it's easy to associate it with every other earthling, with every other animal in that sense. To consecrate an animal is to recognize there is something worthy of consecrating there as a living being, as a thing, as an earthling. The fact that you can't trade that's something I'm going to have to think more about. I never gave it much thought because we don't do it like that nowadays without pure priests and temple, etc. I'd like to think of it more. Until he brought this up, I didn't really give it much thought. And I don't know if I knew until last night that you couldn't trade it for something else. That is that consecration for that consecration. So I need to think about it more. But thank you, Taylor, for uh, awakening that and bringing it to my attention. I'd like to get more into that mission and realize that and understand the context a bit more. I'm still in the middle, towards the end, but still kind of in the middle of Zvachim, Masechet Zvachim, Tractate Zvachim of the Mishnah that I started in the Netherlands with my chavruta at the time, with my study partner, and we never finished it after I moved. Oy, I hope one day to finish it with him. All right, Robert says, what does it mean when Moses says, don't make baldness between your eyes in Deuteronomy? That idea of making baldness is something that was practiced in my limited understanding, in commentaries and things. That it was something that was practiced by the people at the time, much like, let's say, spilling blood during certain religious rituals. And don't be that way. Be Israel. Don't be like the other nations. Do your own thing. And in that context, to make baldness is when somebody dies, that's how you mourn. There were certain things which the Israelites were told not to do, to separate themselves, consecrate themselves from other nations. Not a question of being better, just different. It's a lateral move, as far as I'm concerned, and not. But make that move. If somebody dies, you have your ways of mourning, of remembering it's a transition, everything to do with mourning and sorrow, which I don't know firsthand, but I do know indirectly. Don't act like the other nations do. Don't deal with death in that way. Don't tear out part of your hair, your highest part, because somebody is going back to the earth, right? Going down low. As far as I know, that's something that was practiced at the time by the nations in Canaan or the surrounding areas as well. And so don't do that. That's how I see it. That's how I recall it being. But if I'm trying to no, okay, let's leave it at that. Taylor 26 says, as to the context of Leviticus 27:26, do not consecrate the firstborn as it already belongs to God. Wait, does he continue or did I leave it off? I don't think. Oh, okay, so he was explaining the context to me at the time yesterday. Okay, I got it. For now, let's see if there's anything in the chat. Okay, so things are going on in the chat. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you all. I'm going to should I go here first? I'll say hi to people who are here, and then I'll dive right back into the chat from yesterday. So I see Jaden is here. Hello, Robert's here. Oregon is here. Lisa Freyne is here. Jamal is here, and he will also, inshallah, be here in Israel for a visit. I think soon. And is anyone else here? Did I miss anyone? Okay, cool. So I have a few people watching, 7 people watching, and already a like. I appreciate the vote of confidence. So let's see, continuing. We were here. Spooky said, isn't it interesting, Jonathan, how every instance of the Spirit of the Lord, Holy Spirit in Tanakh, seems, as far as I have studied, to be always feminine, with feminine Hebrew verbs, while in other usages of the word ruach, which is spirit or wind, for negative spirits, it is somewhat feminine. Another usage, yes, ruach is, okay, so let's see. Now, I recall, does it not suggest, he says spooky, does it not suggest that this ruach, the holy ruach of God, is specifically feminine in the Hebrew? Okay, and then I had to go. But I do recall him saying something today which I didn't get to read, but I saw that something came in. And he says this in the comments. He said, hey, I misspoke in the end of the live comments about Ruach. What I mean to say is that every instance of the Spirit of Hashem, Yod He Vav He, Ruach HaKodesh in Tanakh is always feminine, with feminine verbs in the Hebrew. But in other verses about other spirits, a different Ruach, these spirits are sometimes given masculine verbs. Does this not suggest that the Holy Spirit of Adonai is specifically being labeled as feminine, Shekhinah? Okay, let's see, was that? P.S. I'm so glad I caught your stream. When is the next? Right now, boom! Feel better soon, thank you, and kick that dusty cough to the curb, inshallah. P.P.S. he said, the spirit in Job 4:15, which passed, and okay, chalaf, did so in the masculine form of the verb. This suggests that if in some instances a spirit can be specifically masculine, then the Holy Spirit, which always has feminine verbs, as far as I have found, is distinctly female. All right, so there's a lot there. Let's see if I can just. Okay, so first of all, in Hebrew, traditionally, classically, biblically, ruach is in the feminine. For instance, ruach ra'ah, evil spirit, and not ruach ra, which is for the male. And ruach is associated with the male more than it is with the female, in the sense of, in the four elements, ruach, spirit or wind, it's more wind in the sense of the four elements, is the female, is the male, and earth is the female. Ruach, hakodesh, is not precisely ruach, which is why it's, let's see, I'm trying to, I have too many things in my head right now, but not enough. I need to be precise. Oh. Shekhinah is the divine feminine presence, aka the Sphira named Malchut. It has nothing of its own. It gets everything from the top 9 Sphirot. There's a divine influence and revelation which is culminated and is brought into existence in this realm, in this physical place. That's Malchut. That's like the moon that has no light of its own. It waxes and it wanes and it reflects other light coming towards it. In that sense, that's Shekhinah, Malchut, the divine feminine presence. And so it's distinctly feminine because it speaks to things going on in this world, in the physical world. And we in this physical world are receiving everything from above. We're the final stop. To bring all that, it's already been one and came apart into male and female, and then it's coming back down into Malchut as a kind of something that's striving for balance of male and female, already baked into it. So Shekhinah and Ruach, Shekhinah is distinctly feminine. Ruach, is it masculine? Ruach avar, yes. Ve'avar me'ito ruach, yes. It does appear in the masculine, and when it does appear in the masculine, it does seem to lean towards the feminine side, the side of the left hand, the side of din. I seem to remember, hold on a second, I'll look this up very, very quickly. If in the Sotah, Var Meito, Ruach Kin'ah, is it Ve'avar? Yes, or Avar, yes, Ve'avar Alav. Ve'avar Alav Ruach, not Ve'avra Alav Ruach, Ve'avar Alav. It's interesting. So, I never gave that much thought either. The fact that it says Ve'avar Alav Ruach Kin'ah. So, that's what I thought of. The part where the woman gone astray, right before the Nazarite vow, incidentally, in the book of Numbers. The woman gone astray, the Isha Sotah, it says about the husband, ve'avar me'ito ruach, and I knew that right offhand, but I didn't think of it in the sense of male and female, right? The feminine and masculine tenses in the Hebrew. So, having that in mind, now that I have more of a lock on it as far as the Hebrew is concerned, let's read that quickly again. What I mean to say is that, said Spooky, every instance of the spirit of Hashem, Adonai Ruach HaKodesh in Tanakh is always feminine, with feminine verbs in the Hebrew, yes. But in other verses about other spirits, a different Ruach, these spirits are sometimes given masculine verbs. Does this not suggest that the Holy Spirit of Adonai is specifically being labeled as feminine, Shekhinah? So right, that's a definite yes. And then he says in Job, at Job did so in the masculine form of the verb. So I remembered it from the Torah, and he brought the verse from Job 4:15, where presumably it also says ve'avar me'ito ruach, or something to that extent, where it's the masculine verb to the feminine word. And I think there's something there about the a male meeting the female, meaning the male verb meeting the the male verb meeting the female, the masculine verb meeting the feminine uh, noun, ruach. I'm not something I also need to give some thought to, but I don't want to just freeze here, for a good 90 seconds. It could be I'm reading too much into it, but it seems to me just that if it is true, then there are those other spirits, ruach, a different ruach, and those are there to bring a different twist. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I'm pulling it out of my ass. All right, where was I? Okay, so Spooky said that, then I went down to the comments. Robert said, speaking of firstborn, how's your elder bro? My brother Sean is doing very well. Thank you for asking. As far as I know, he's doing well. He's playing. He's living the life, living that rock star life. But I love how humble and down to earth he is. He could very easily not be. But his rock life comes from fighting tooth and nail and working his bloody arse off. So as far as I know, he's doing very well. Such a good elder brother. I'm very lucky to have him. Jaden said, when I saw the angel, so Jaden said he had a revelation of some kind. I asked him whether it was a vision or a dream. I don't know if he answered or not. We'll see here. But he said that there was like a visitation from an angel who read the verses from Numbers 6. And then he asked him, do you agree? And when Jaden answered yes, that he does agree, he said, you are now a Nazarite, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So he says, when I saw the angel, it said God saw that you were hurt. I wanted God's help with something. And I read Numbers chapter 6. Where's my bottle? Pardon me. Do I not have my bottle? Okay. Okay. I don't know where my bottle is, people, but that's okay. We're going to plow right ahead here. If I get too cottonmouthy, I'll just grab a drink. So let's see. Sorry, cut him off in the middle of a dramatic thing there. I wanted God's help with something, and I read Numbers chapter 6 in the past and wanted to vow it. I'd love to hear more. Jaden, if you're here or in the comments, I'd love to hear more about your about how much time elapsed. I mean, you say you read it in the past and wanted to do it, and that's something that sort of really nailed it and you became one that day, or was there still a time frame where you would have that visit, where you had the visitation but you didn't take the vow yet? Or do you consider that encounter to be the vow itself? I wonder, do let me know. I haven't looked into the camera at all. I've just been blah. Sorry. Hey, hi there. It's good to have you here. I'm grateful. So grateful. So thankful that you can join me here. I hope it's worth your while. I know I'm rambling and a little bit, scattered. That's Jonathan at 11 p.m. All right. So Ruger12. Hello, Ruger12, or hello at the time. I don't know if he's watching now. Such a good question to Spooky, he said. Yes, it is. That was a good question. I'm happy to think about it more. Ariel said, sorry, lagging behind a bit. Can tell anyone who questions you that keeping fit is a mitzvah if you want an extra reason. Oh, it's most definitely a mitzvah, as far as I'm concerned. There are times when I'll be on the elliptical, and I'll meditate on the words, Neshama bria beguf bari muchachati lavo lidei ha'osher gadol shel hatshuva. Right, what I said last night, quoting Rav Kook, in the Lights of Returning. A healthy soul and a healthy body must come to the great joy of tshuva, of returning. All right. Jesus says, well, I always found it strange that Jewish lineage is determined by the mother's side, but in history it's all about the forefathers. Right. So that happened at the time of Ezra Nehemiah returning from Babylon, although it was only 70 odd years. And even though there were people who saw the destruction of the first one and were there for the beginning of the rebuilding of the second one and of the repairing of the walls of Zion, still so much was lost. And a lot of different people showed up with foreign wives. There was a whole brouhaha, a kerfuffle a major kerfuffle with people saying, "Look, this can't be. We need to make a covenant with God. You need to either convert them or say goodbye to them. You can't have it both ways. You can't have a foreign woman, somebody who is not of the Hebrew people, with you, married to you in your home. It's just not going to work out. We're back. We're trying to build something here. She can join the tribes. She's welcome, but if she's not going to, you got to say goodbye." Some people did, some people didn't. It was a whole thing. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, that's when the tribal affiliation remained with the father, but the religious affiliation turned to the mother. God bless, brother, said Ruger 12. Okay, okay, and then that's when I started saying goodbye. So these are the goodbyes from Jesus, from Spooky, from Taylor, from Robert, from Eiler, and Pinky, who was here next to me, and she's here now. All right, let's move on to here and now. Lower this a little bit. Oh, wow. So here I am back on this tab. Now I'm seeing myself and you guys. Hello, you guys. It's good to see you. All right, let's see. Let's see what we have to work with here. Wow. Ooh, where did I put my bottle? Now I am actually going to need it. I'll be back in 10 or 20 seconds. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so, uh, all right. Okay, 2 days in a row. Thank you, Abba. Indeed, Todalaya. I'm having such a blast doing this 2 days in a row. I haven't done it in months. And I'm already having so much fun. And it's an honor to share this time with you. Okay, let's see. Oregon says, I'm planning a trip to Israel in the fall of 2023. Hey, Zakif. Wow, look at that. I hope to get to meet some of you good folk. Hi. Jaden says, oh, so he is here, or he was here. If I vow a lifelong Nazarite, am I ever able to cut my hair, like once a year? So the once a year thing was something which those who were consecrated as children and who chose when they came of age, 12 for women, 13 for men, when they came of age, or actually with vows, it's 11 and 12, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe just 12, but it precedes the actual bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah year. So a lifelong Nazarite vow of that kind, you're allowed to trim it once a year. Some say that you need to shave it off completely. Others say, no, you can just snip it once a year. This is learned primarily from the story of Absalom, of Shalom, the son of David. And his hair was also part of his downfall, but that's another video. So you look, halachically speaking, right? Orthodox mainstream Judaism, so to speak. If you vow it, then you cannot cut your hair. If you are made a Nazarite as a child and then you take it on as an adult, as a person of age, or a year before that, right, at age 12, let's say, then I think you're allowed to do it once a year. I don't recall the halachot precisely, though I have them here, but I don't recall the precise halachas of those types of Nazarites. I think that they can cut it and they don't have to shave it, but I'm just guessing. Yes, once a year they can do that. Other types of Nazarites cannot do that, as far as I know. Lisa says hello, shalom, shalom to you. Jamal, shalom achi. Glad to see your face and hear your Torah today. And I'm glad to hear yours. Tell me things, educate me. What verses are turning you on today? What stories, if at all, from your life or from Tanakh, are what stories are you walking with on this fine evening or day where you are? Do tell, do tell. Let's see. Lisa says, Shalom, Karen and Robert. It's good to see everyone again. Yeah, so tell me, at the time, Lisa and Oregon Freebird, you started that Skype thing. Have you been continuing that? Did it ever grow beyond that? But yes, it's nice to see familiar, see this cough. It's nice to see familiar profile images. and names and associate voices and visuals to some of those. It's all of you, actually. Everyone that's here except for Jaden. Maybe I'll talk to Jaden at some point, do a dialogue. Huh? I should get back into doing dialogues, even though it was my downfall. I'm glad to be here. I'm so glad to be here now. A moment of, just a very quick moment of gratitude. I don't take anything for granted, the least of which what's going on over here. It is such a blessing to be able to share with you guys, talk with you guys, engage with you, go live, and just poof, we're in a conversation. It's something I cherish and I'm always happy to come back to, whether it's been hours since I did it or weeks. You're a great crowd. I've missed everyone. Yeah, I have too. So nice to do this again. I sure hope you can get I sure hope you can get all the way well. That lingering cough can be a pain to deal with. Yeah, it's true. Marielle Marshall. How do you do it, dude? Every time I am about to embark on a long night cycle home, you go online. I'm sorry. I'm not planning it. Taylor, 26. Hello, hello, hello. It's good to see you. Jesus says, hi everyone. Had to catch up a bit. Thanks, thanks for your extrapolation of the link between Asa and Amalek. Yeah, yeah. Taylor 26, Mashiach is closer than you think, he says. However, it's possible that Mashiach is not a person or an entity, but a state of consciousness. Yes, it is also that thing. And it is that state of consciousness that we can arrive at and bypass. When I say that we can bypass the monarchy, the wars, the controversy, the physical building, it might be dangerous, but it's possible. It is possible to live that kind of consciousness of the anointed one without having to go through the schlep of war and destruction and all the different. We can do it out of love, respect. We can do it. I don't know, maybe this is just my hippy dippy side, but god darn it, I love it because I believe it's possible. I believe it's on us as individuals, those who seek it, to simply attempt kinda to try and embody it, that kind of life, that kind of being. That's what Torah and commandments mean to me. When I read them, it's through that lens. So sometimes maybe I screw up. Definitely, I screw up. But to me, it's possible to arrive at that consciousness, not without struggle, not without strife, but a different kind. It's a different altar. It's a different. It's a different story. So you can arrive at it in ways of destruction and woe and all the prophecies and tragedies that may befall us. And you can also arrive at it through a very kind of Edenic way of thinking, as I see it. I don't know how viable it is. I'm just one man. But that's how I see it, arriving at that consciousness. So it's both of them. And if it will be an anointed king, it will be somebody who will lead the people, be their king. He may be the anointed one, and he may not. People speak of the Mashiach. There could be several. They can be from different tribes. It's not necessarily the lineage of David, which will first take the crown, but the one that is spoken of, right? That Tzemach, that son of David, that will unify, that will bring about Malchut in the sense of that the moon will shine like the sun, as it's prophesied, right? And the sun will shine as the 7 days of creation, 7 days of Bereshit, not 6 days of labor, the complete set. Shabbos, 7 days, the tree of life, and then on to the next adventure. That Messiah, that consciousness, it's possible, it's doable. I see that that's what prophecy is to me as somebody who tentatively and not yet all in like seek prophecy. Somebody, I do seek prophecy, and I've said this before. It's part of my it's on my list things to experience. What was that? Okay, I hope I'm not too loud. So yeah, that consciousness that's able to bring malchut to shine like the sun, right? That light of the moon that was diminished God makes two great lights. And then it says the large and the small. But in the beginning, there were two great lights, and they will be again. Right? Like conceptually, through that consciousness. Mm. So closer than you think. Taylor, well said, man. Mashiach is closer than you think. It's true. You seem a bit better today. Well, we'll see by the time I'm finished reading this chat. You people with your comments. I'm so grateful for each and every one of these that I get to read, to try to process, perhaps fail to do so, go on a tangent, rant about something, come back, lose my place, and you guys stick by me for all of my shenanigans. Ay, it's a mashu. It's something. So, Robert Harrison said, Jesus, you think Amalek is Esau's son? Is that the question? Is that okay? Jesus answered, hey, dude, I'm not that well versed, so I don't have a full chronological understanding of the old books. Judea had more enemies than these two entities, if I remember that correctly. Right, Judea had more enemies than them. Right, yeah, that was everybody when they were trying to take over, the Plishtim and Aram. Or Aram was more Israel. But okay, let's see. Taylor 26 says, were you still wanting to talk about the firstborn law? I have found interesting things about the firstborn law. Yeah, I'd love to hear more. Exodus 22, 29, 30. I'm going to take another sip here and pull that up. Exodus 22, 29. Let's have the JPS here. 29. Says the JPS Tanakh. Likewise shalt thou do with thine oxen and with thy sheep. 7 days it shall be with its dam. On the 8th day thou shalt give it to me. And, that's the next verse, ye shall be holy men unto me. Therefore you shall not eat any flesh that is torn of beasts in the field. You shall cast it to the dogs. Right? There's a way to take an animal. There's a way to take an animal, and there's a way to treat it in a way that makes it kosher. All right. So through consecrating the animal side, the firstborn, and this is what that symbolizes in a way, the different animals symbolize different revelations of the Most High, right? Being the left, right, and middle, or center. No, middle, not center. Well, it's a mitzai, mitzua. Or middle, because it's both. Yeah, it's both. It's both. God says, through giving me that animal firstborn, you will become holy people. Right? Anshei Kodesh tihiyunli. If I'm not mistaken, that's the Hebrew. People of sacredness. To cast to the dogs. Okay, so the dog represents, let's say, more the left side of the right pillar of judgment and wrath. Fire. To cast that to the dogs. You consecrate the firstborn. You let it have a Shabbos. That's why it's 7 days. Because this animal thing needs to go through that that 7 days of Bereshit, the 7 days of Genesis, but in a week. And then on the 8th day, you give it to God. Right? 7 being nature, 8 being the divine. And the connection here speaks to the people. If you are able to consecrate your, let's say, animal side to some degree, give it freedom, but in measure, that is what makes you that is what makes you sacred. The fact that you set apart certain things in your physical nature, treat them in certain ways, acknowledge them in certain ways. From the way you go to the bathroom to the changing of the seasons, you acknowledge it and you live it and you go with it. And the physical becomes a part of your spirit and the way that you lead your life. And it's woven into it. You sacrifice that element, that firstborn animal, and you'll be able to get higher. and you'll be able to be a person of sacredness. The rest, right? It's just the firstborn. The rest of the animals, right, of that whatever it was called, right, the group that was born, if they're kosher animals, right? You can slaughter them and eat them, and they are. And peter chamor tifde bese. It says that the firstborn of an ass, right, a donkey, that firstborn you must trade in for a lamb. The donkey represents the material. The lamb represents, let's say, harmony and balance. To trade in that harsh, right? Chamor is donkey or ass in Hebrew. The chamor is the same letters as chomer, which is material, which is, well, it has to do with the earth. It has to do with the element, with Shekhinah, with this world, right? And the element of the earth. And so you take that, the chamor, and you don't sacrifice it. You are able to make a shift, and you trade it for a lamb, for that middle pillar. You take the lighter things and you consecrate them. And you take the tougher things and you give them balance. That's how I see it anyway, just offhand from these two verses. Let's see what Taylor has to say about it. It says the firstborn animal to be sacrificed on the 8th day. But possibly due to the breaking of the stone tablets and Korach's rebellion, this has been changed. Firstborn animal is given a bit later, as Mishnah Bechor 4:1 says. So we see that in practice, halachically, since halacha is derived from Mishnah and the Talmud, so that halachically, he says it changed, but in the actual Torah, it's that 8th day. But let's see. Numbers, I'll go, Oregon, Freebird, Karen, I'll go back to you in a moment here. Wait, hold on. Yes, I'll go back to you in a moment. I want to read the Taylor's thing. Numbers 18:17. Numbers 18:17. Okay, hold on. Let's read that for a moment. Dun, 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 dun. See, I'm giving you background music. Bum, 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 bum. Transition music. Dun, 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 dun. Here we are. Let's see. Okay. But the firstling of an ox, right, someone within their first year, someone, right, an ox or a sheep, or the firstling of a sheep, or the firstling of a goat, thou shalt not redeem. They are holy. Thou shalt dash their blood against the altar, and shall make their fat smoke for an offering made by fire, for a sweet savor unto the Lord. And the flesh of them shall be thine, as the wave breast, and as the right thigh, it shall be thine, right, to the priest. All the heave offerings of the holy things, which the children of Israel offer unto the Lord, have I given thee, right, the things which the priests get from the offering, be it the meat, be it the skins, be it the different baked goods and things that are made. And so let's see. I have given thee and thy sons and thy daughters with thee as a due forever. It is an everlasting covenant of salt before the Lord unto thee, Brit Melach, and to thy seed with thee. Right. So the priests. Wait, did I read that correctly? Was that what it was? 17:18. Is that what I read? I read 19. Okay, so did I read 17? Yes, I read 17, 18, and 19, Numbers chapter 18. So it says Taylor, it says there for the Levites to eat, not the Levites, the priests to eat the meat of the firstborn, which is an update on Exodus, it seems, because that wouldn't be much meat to eat on the 8th day, as Exodus 22 says. So wait, now we read Exodus 22 last night. Let's revisit that quickly. Exodus 22, verse 29, which says, likewise, wait, hold on a second. Wait, it's what I read last night or what I read now? No, that's the one I read now. I'm sorry. So she'll give it to me. Okay, so I think that's precisely what it says in both cases. Many times when the Torah says, give it to me, it means sacrifice it. Giving it to the priests is giving it to that revelation, to that me that God speaks of. So let's see. I mean, it also says, Bechor banecha titen li, your firstborn, you will give to me, but we don't sacrifice humans. So let's see. Seems there wouldn't be much meat. I don't know if it had to do with how much meat there was. I think it has to do with the fact that it was a commandment, and it had maybe less to do with the meat, as in this could be, part of this complete breakfast. So Mishnah Bechor 4:1 says Taylor gets its time frame from Deuteronomy 15:20. Okay, let's read Deuteronomy 15:20. Whoops, wait. Deuteronomy 15:20, he says, is the new time frame that the Mishnah Bechor is getting it from. Okay, so let's see that for a moment here. Okay. Dvarim. Wait a minute. 15, verse 20. Here we are. So, thou shalt eat it before the Lord thy God year by year in the place which the Lord shall choose, thou and thy household. Is that it? 15:20? Okay. So, let's see. All the firstling males that are born, says Deuteronomy, thou shalt do no work with the firstling, thou shalt eat it before the Lord thy God year by year. Okay. Thou shalt eat it within thy gates. Okay. So it changes. Let's see if I understand this correctly. We have Exodus, the firstborn of thy sons, right? That's Bechor banecha titen li. Likewise with your ox, sheep, 7 days, 8. Okay. And then we see that the firstling of an ox, the firstling of a sheep, or the firstling of a goat, thou shalt not redeem. So wait. Firstling, wait, let's see. As far as I know, firstling is all of them, not firstborn. But wait, but then it says they are holy, they shall dash their blood, make their stomach. Okay. Okay, so it is. The firstling. Okay, here's the thing. The Bechorot, or the Bikurim, I think the way I understand it very quickly, wait, let me go to the one in Deuteronomy. The firstlings, work, the firstling. Okay. Now I'm trying to understand if by firstling they mean, because here's the thing. One female could have had many different, right, many children, many offspring. A yearling is an animal in its first year. But let's see. Right. So, there is the first of that year, and there is the first one ever. That's what I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand, does it say Bechor in all of these times? That's what I'm trying to understand. And I guess I'll look in the Hebrew. Hold on a second. Oh man, am I gonna do this now? Guys, let me ask you now. Let me ask you. Wait, hold on a second. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure if to spend a few seconds and pull up all of these in Hebrew, or what do you say? Should I do it? Okay, you know what? I'll start with this one. We'll go one by one and we'll see what's what. No, you know what? I won't waste the time with that. Let's just keep going in the chat. I'm just going to say this before I go to the Hebrew, which will make it certain. Does it say Bechor in all of those cases? I'm trying to remember. But I won't waste your time with me thinking or looking it up right now. Let's just say that there's a difference between the first one ever born and the first of the season of that year. It could very well be that the first one could not be made to, could not be traded in for anything, and it was specifically consecrated, and the other ones were consecrated differently to a different degree. It could very well be. Or if it's bikurim of every single season, and we're not talking about the first one ever from that female animal, but every season there is a firstborn, which is right what happens every season, much like fruit and things of that nature, right? You bring the first ones of the season to the Lord during the three pilgrimages, specifically on Shavuot, rather. So, taking that into account, it looks like it does change. And I'm sure that there's an explanation right now in the text which eludes me. I do know that different things that were brought up in Deuteronomy, in Sefer Devarim, were brought up in order to elaborate on them, things that were brought up previously. If something is brought up again, a different topic, a different subject matter, a different set of halachas and regulations and rules and mitzvahs, commandments, whatever, if it's something that is being reiterated, it's done a little differently, or sometimes very differently. Sometimes it's more subtle, like the Ten Commandments, in order to convey a point and to elaborate on the original thing. Now, that's like in the literary sense, if you will. Halachically speaking, there is the 13 attributes by which Torah is learned, right, and by which it is gleaned, right? Halacha, at least according to some sages, right? Shloshah Asar midot she'Torah nidreshet bahem. And so there's a way to do that. Oh, pardon me. So it came in Deuteronomy in order to elaborate and give, ah, see, almost an hour, just like yesterday. I guess about an hour is where I tap out for now. So I'm gonna tap out. I'm gonna go bye bye. I don't want to do anything to jeopardize the throat, and I want to give you my full attention. And now it's becoming a bit too distracting, and I want to give you respect and the attention that you deserve. So I'm gonna stop right here. I'd love to pick this up again tomorrow, if possible. Please, please, God. Let's hope that we meet back here about the same time, I suppose. If not, then God willing on Friday. So my apologies that I have to be so abrupt and cut it so short. I appreciate every single one of you, your views, your likes, your comments, the engagement, the chat, coming back, one day after the other. You could be doing anything else right now, but we're doing this. You're giving me your time, and I hope that it's worth your while. I hope that it benefits you, that you find something there of merit. I know that I am, and I thank you for it. Let's have a wonderful night. God bless. God bless. So much fun.